for 200 years of education in the United States, public education and independent school education. School has largely happened to kids. We want to turn that on its ear. And in creating the academic research program, we've created a natural vehicle where they can pursue something with incredible passion. We're giving them the skills then to take that pursuit, to take that passion, and create something that matters in the greater world.
It's a 4-year program, and we start in the 9th grade where students will learn the skills necessary to conduct really good research.
Learning how to cite credible sources, learning how to build an argument and support that argument with evidence.
And then in the 10th grade, ARP is matched with our U.S. History 10 program, in which students will learn what it means to have a site visit, and on that site, how to use that as a source.
It starts with us learning how to cite sources, how to closely read scholarly articles, and then it develops into more of allowing us to take these skills that they've given us and move forward into our senior years doing independent research on a topic that we select.
ARP is a chance for us in our senior year to really focus on something that interests us, and I think it really helps us to really build our understanding of our interests. I think we get to see all these different perspectives and learn things in ways that we wouldn't have if it was just a textbook giving us the facts.
I'm interested in engineering, electrospinning specifically, nanofiber matrices for implementation in cardiac infarct patients, so heart attack patients. I'm actually just super excited to see where I can take it. I started with wanting to implement nanofiber scaffoldings into the heart for cardiac infarct patients and to regenerate cardiomyocytes. Not a lot of universities around the area were doing that research specifically.
Santo's project is about the potential for carbon nanofibers. So this is another really exciting new sort of material science project. How do you spin carbon nanofibers in a way that might allow you to someday use the resultant material in sort of orthopedic applications? So whether that's a joint replacement, a ligament replacement, and what was really exciting for Santo is he got to actually do that work in a lab.
We wanted the students to reach out to an expert in the field of study. We've always encouraged it in the past. This time we mandated it. What it does is validates their project and also provides direction.
You'll get responses from different places. Sometimes you won't hear back, sometimes you do, and I was lucky enough to hear back from Dr. Yawen Lee at Lawrence Tech. She's the head of the biomedical engineering department there. I started going to the lab and observing, and then I started to be able to do some of the simpler parts of the research, and over time just helped me develop a ton of these skills that I'm going to need in college.
I had a mentor, her name was Dr. Lacey Gale, and I met her through one of my teachers actually, and she introduced me to the work she does with refugee mindfulness after they resettle in the United States.
I'm looking into doing a responsible and effective network for the Michigan refugee community and helping in their assimilation.
Naomi has a very interesting story as well. So she was very interested in the refugee status. Okay, once we welcome them, what are the factors affecting them in assimilating to a city? And once she did those studies, she realized that they really need a bike to be able to get from point A to point B. How can you work without that?
She went from research to action. She said, well, how can I help? And so she organized a bike drive and has been so influenced by her work and by her experience in the program, she's going to take a gap year before she goes to Middlebury and go overseas and work with refugee populations.
I will be traveling to India and Nepal first to work with the Tibetan refugees there, and then I will be traveling to Italy where I will help the African refugees with some legal processes for their integration through my language abilities in French.
I went out to the University of California, Berkeley over the past summer, and I got to shadow graduate students there, and during this process I got to meet the discoverer of the CRISPR-Cas9 system, Dr. Jennifer Doudna, who is up for a Nobel Prize right now.
And the next thing you know, over the summer, she's at Berkeley working with and shadowing the leading expert in CRISPR technology.
CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, which are basically chunks of DNA found in bacteria that repeat themselves. Between these CRISPRs are spacer sequences that encode for fighting off previous invading viruses and serve as a genetic memory, like an immune system for bacteria.
She was really looking at what is the potential for CRISPR technology, this ability to edit sort of malfunctioning genes to cure hereditary diseases, in particular sickle cell anemia.
I had a close family friend who suffers from sickle cell anemia, and just seeing the intense amount of pain that she has to go through on a daily basis. CRISPR-Cas9 is the answer that scientists have been looking for to hopefully treat sickle cell anemia without causing these additional side effects.
ARP, for me at least, is being able to incorporate your voice into the topic. My project focuses on Detroit redevelopment and how large-scale projects like Little Caesars Arena are stimulating growth for the Detroit economy.
Matthews really sees himself as a civil servant already. He's co-president of the senior class. He's gonna be a politician. He was really interested in what's the true economic impact, all things considered, of stadium development, of Little Caesars Arena. What does it mean for the greater city, and not just that sort of sports corridor, but the greater city?
And the next thing you know, there's an opportunity through the Detroit Historical Society for this 1967 conference, which really talks about what can we learn from our history to create change and affect change, and more importantly, to make sure that the youth are engaged in our city. He's at this week-long conference in which he is engaged with many other students from different communities in the Detroit area.
I'm writing a play for my final project, which is, a lot of people think it's like just an art, like anyone can do it, but it's a craft that requires skill and determination and a whole lot of research.
Grace became really interested in the art of playwriting and really wanted to understand how material, historical material, gets translated for the stage. So what is the art of adaptation?
I did some research on theatrical adaptations, and I found a lot of novel to play adaptations, but I kind of wanted to pivot from that and do a historical event to a play adaptation. I couldn't find a lot on that, so I thought if it doesn't exist, then I'll write something about it. I chose a biography that I thought was very interesting, which is on Siegfried Sassoon, and he was a World War I poet and soldier. And I read that biography, which took a while, and I annotated it, analyzed it, created a timeline of his life, specifically the portion of his life that I wanted to focus on, and then I used the information I gleaned from my case studies to write an outline/treatment plan for a play based on his life.
I am interested in renewable energy in science and engineering. So specifically, I am doing graphene supercapacitors that can be applied to electric vehicles.
I've always wanted to combat climate change, and I believe energy storage device like graphene supercapacitor, which is what I'm making, will lead to more implementation of renewable energy resources.
Tony is exploring how graphene, which is sort of this next generation material that is sort of on the forefront of materials technology, materials science, what's the potential for that material to be used in creating supercapacitors? So inexpensive, efficient, high capacity storage devices that can be used in any number of electronic applications.
I have conducted research solely at the labs at University Liggett School because I have everything I needed. I have a chemistry lab and Mrs. Galea's help. I have a physics teacher and his lab, Mr. Brunner. They have been tremendous help for me.
You could see the frustration that every engineer faces with the project, and this is not working, I can't believe this is not working, and then the next day he'd come back and say, okay, I tweaked it, now it's what I want it to look like at least. And the process was just really wonderful for Tony.
When I tested my first successful trial of capacitors and found that it actually stores energy and charged quickly the way I wanted it to, that was my most happy moment of my research project. And then the big surprise came when I won the whole Detroit Science Fair, and I represented Michigan at the International Science Fair.
He is our first student from University Liggett School to compete at Intel in Pittsburgh, and we are thrilled just by everything that he's done here.
It was a chemistry experiment, it was a physics experiment, It was a computer science lab. And I used all the knowledge that I learned from Liggett and applied it in real-life application. And in the future, I have always been curious about a lot of things, and I think doing research is the way for humanity to find out those problems.
I think at first, when I came in my freshman year, I was kind of like, what is this for? Why do I need this? And now when we're really in the full swing of things, I'm reading big articles, I need to write annotations and things like that. I mean, I'd learned those skills prior to now, and I do see that it has really helped me and made this process a lot easier.
Hearing all the seniors' presentations, like they really know what they're talking about, and it's kind of comforting because they were in the same position as me just like a little over a year ago.
Having gone through the process, the junior year portion of it, I know how much work has gone into it and just how comfortable they are with their subjects. So I would say that's more excitement to be able to do it myself.
I mean, to see all of those seniors so passionate about so many different topics, and just being able to look at those projects and they're experts in their fields or their topics right now. So I just think it's incredible, and the experience that we have here is unbelievable.
We have wonderful students, many of whom have been with us since they were in pre-K and have had this interest and this curiosity cultivated in our program. They see adults as allies, and those wonderful relationships make for some outstanding work in the classrooms.
Andrea Champagne and I met a couple years ago to create a mini ARP in the 8th grade, and so she has scaffolded that beautifully. We've outlined it. So every single day the students know what to expect, and as they progress towards figuring out their research question, what materials they will need, is it feasible, who can help us, and they're actually quite surprised by how well they can do this, and they're having fun.
For me, the real measure of success is hearing in their presentations confidence, expertise, and joy. This is mine. This is something that I've done and will always be mine. We want school to matter to kids. And in doing so, I think we fundamentally have changed school.